Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Season 6 has finally launched for Realm NFT, and we are diving in there with a brand new early game strategy that has been working out pretty well for me so far. And we'll talk about that strategy here in a few minutes, but I wanted to cover the new things within Realm because there is a lot of changes, some very major changes that could positively impact your experience. So let's go ahead and dive into those changes first. First of all, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, the nice, beautiful elephant in the room is the swapping of the leaders. You'll see over here on the side, and it's going to be for every single region once they're opened up, is that you can go ahead and just easily swap between two different leaders. And of course, I clicked on that by accident, but you can go ahead and click in between two different leaders that easy, which is a great addition. Also, when you have quests running, for example, over here in Asia, I used to not be able to swap out this Asia leader. I can now go ahead and do that without a problem. They're not locked. This is huge. This is great for everything as far as if you have enough leaders to go ahead and do different builds. For example, I do a troop building build, and I do a mission build, and I do a building build, stuff like that, where basically I'm churning out troops or helpers, and I have my two economists. Once I open some space, I'll have professionals there that I can go ahead and help boost the speed. And then when I want to actually run the missions, I can go ahead and quick swap over to my generals, hackers, or whoever else you're going to be using to go ahead and send them out in missions. It makes it really simple. And then when you're actually in building mode, when you're trying to chug through a lot of buildings, you can have your truckers out there, your politicians, that's what it is, the politicians, where it's cheaper to do buildings, stuff like that. It makes it a whole lot easier. So this is a great addition. It adds a different strategy or a different complexity to the game. I should say not necessarily complexity, but flexibility. So you can quickly swap out. The biggest challenge I'm having right now is remembering to flop them, especially when I quick do a building or I do a research, switching over to the scientist. I often forget that, so I need to do better with that. I probably would have saved thousands of resources by now if I would remember that. But it's a great addition. It's something to get used to. That's my favorite out of all the additions here for Season 6. In addition to that, I mentioned this in a previous video, there's now 2 daily quests that you can go ahead and there. One that gives you a bonus of reputation and one that gives you a bonus of other things. So that's neat. You don't see it on my screen because I already went ahead and ran them. They're fun. They're a little bit harder, especially the reputation one is harder than the other daily one, the basic daily one. But that's a nice addition that you can actually run 2 now. It's going to help a lot in early game. Even later game, it'll help quite a bit too. And there's some small things, some minor things as far as your ranking now shows up here, so you don't have to go into your rankings and click through and scroll down or take a look here. That is new. It's a little quality of life bonus. There's also a few other things which I'm not going to go into, but the things like the rewards are the same, which are great rewards. For gold, again, if you end up in the top 50, you get a 5-star supervisor, which is the brand new leader. I wish I would have had that just to show you that as part of this early game build. I think the supervisor is going to be great for early game building. Maybe not so much late game, but it'll be nice to get one of those 5 stars. But everything else is the same. As far as the prizes go, both for the rankings at the end of the season and then also your seasonal journeys is roughly the same. All right, so enough with the new additions. Let's talk about my progress and my strategy for the early game. Right now, we are a little bit over 12 hours into Season 6. I am already into Asia and building up pretty quickly in Asia, which has always been my strategy. Get to Asia as quickly as possible because you get those additional resources, additional factories, additional storage, and all that fun stuff. And you can get there rather quickly. So I always try and push there quickly. But I slowed that down slightly because I wanted to adjust what I focused on. In talking to a number of the people that were in the top 3, top 5, top 10 of the leagues past season, all of them stressed very, very much on doing research and the technology center as quickly as possible. So I did that. One of my first buildings, as soon as I could get to it, was putting the research building down and starting chugging through the research. In addition, I got the technology center here in Africa, which I usually wait over to Asia to do that. But I put it in as my last building once I got a little bit of the titanium where I could go ahead and start upgrading that. And then as soon as I got to the second, actually before I even opened up Asia, I went ahead and I opened up two different things. In the special category, I opened up the build permit and I opened up the research grant. So I could do a second research center once I got to Asia, which I was able to do. And that was one of the big things that those top players let me know. Get to second research in Asia as quickly as possible, and also the technology center. I also added the building permit because it's really, really, really nice to be able to upgrade multiple buildings in one region. This, I think, has been key so far. I've been upgrading like crazy. As you can see, resources are still catching up a little bit there. But I'm producing and I'm building, and I'm in a much more advanced place. 15 hours into the season than I was maybe 2 days into the season last year. So this is great as far as my production and my upgrading and advancement goes. In order to be able to do that, I did have to spend some resources. I had to boost. I had to make sure I had RLM available. And instead of going out there and just grabbing a whole bunch and spending a whole bunch of wax and doing that, I started at the end of last season, right after they did the win, the overall season-ending leaderboards. I started saving my RLM. I had all 6 regions open. I had 5 stars going on all of them, and I had boosts. I continued to boost the entire time as far as my salary goes. And that allowed me to save a lot of RLM for this season. I was looking ahead for this season. So I had a ton of RLM. You see I have 7,000, almost 8,000 up here right now. I started with about 17,000 and spent 10,000 over the last, 15 hours. So that was big because that allowed me to open things like these specialties, the research grant, the building permit. It allowed me to speed up a lot of my builds. It also allowed, as far as missions, I was able to finish missions quicker. So I was able to get those minor boosts. I didn't spend any wax to get the salary or the RLM for this. I just saved it. Instead of spending it on things, instead of cashing it in for wax, I did the opposite. I held on to it because I knew I was going to use it early and knew I was going to need to use it early in this. In addition to that, I did spend some wax on boosts. What I'm trying to do, at least for the first 2 days here, is continue my boosted production and resources. They're all rare boosts. Some of them are lasting 12 hours. Some of them are lasting 6 hours, just to build up. Because this first stage of building up is pretty key and pretty painful if you don't have the resources available. So I went ahead and I used some boosts. That did cost me some wax, but that's fine. And the last thing that I used some tokens. Between the seasons, the rare token was going for like 22 wax. Right now it's close to 60 wax. So I grabbed 4 of those. Next time I would grab more. I did grab 4 of those, and I used them here as far as the resources go. As soon as the game launched, I went ahead and I grabbed a resource stack, which allowed me to build really quickly. I know it's a low amount. It's only 5,000 resources, but initial game, right when you jump in there, it was a huge boost where I could go ahead and build stuff, use my RLM to speed it up, and I was able to upgrade my headquarters in Africa within like an hour. I was all the way up to maxed out by using 2 tokens on resources and just blasting in there with RLM. So I was able to have all these spaces available within the first hour, super, super fast, which was neat. Usually it's overnight. Next morning, I had that final level for the headquarters. The other 2 tokens I used on technology or titanium, where I was able to, with the RLM and also the titanium, be able to boost. Right now I'm on level 6, which is, I want to get this higher, but it's good for right now. But these are at level 6s, which is great. So I was able to get those up there. In addition, with the daily quests, I was able to produce some of my silver cyborgs and get those out there, which was needed for those early level quests. So this has helped quite a bit. That's my strategy, was building up and researching as quickly as possible. Also preparing for the season, being ready to get in there. As you can see, a number of people have recommended that I get a second economist, which I have one. I grabbed one during the off season when they weren't cheaper, but they weren't high. They tend to, the prices of 5-star tend to go up during the season, so it was kind of leveled off. So I grabbed an economist. I also went through and I grabbed some additional equipment that's going to help me throughout the season. Caffeine, business cards, and I like the navigation system. I know people like the metal detectors, but I much rather have the navigation system because it makes the missions go faster and I can churn through a number of missions quicker. Just personal preference, and some people like one way, some people like the other way. But this is my early game. I know it's a little more resource intensive, which I wanted to test out for this season. I know it's not newbie. If you're a newcomer to the game and you want a newcomer strategy, check out my season 5 videos. I had a very low entry point approach, other than my 5-star leaders. As far as the resources it takes, I didn't spend a lot of RLM. I didn't use a lot of boosts. So if you want a lower entry point style approach for early game, check out my season 5. This one's more of a higher tier, more competitive in the gold league approach. I'm hoping it works out. I'm not sure if it will. I'm not sure if it won't, but we're testing it out. All right. I hope you all enjoy these videos. Go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. How are you doing? I know we're only about 15 hours into day 1. Still a long ways to go, but let me know how it's going. Let me know what strategies you're doing. Are you pushing research? Are you pushing missions? Are you pushing resources? Let us know. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.